Hi. I want to start this video by saying that I'm not an expert on anything, but I'm especially not an expert on mental illness or discourse analysis. But I need to say this. I need to continue and open up new dialogue, because I think far too often we avoid conversations that are difficult and ones that we have to have. We're in desperate need to change our discourse surrounding mental illness. We need to consciously and carefully normalize mental illness when we talk about it. The way I see it, there are two very different but dangerous ways that we talk about mental illness. The first is that people in need of psychiatric help are merely insane, that they are hardwired to act in crazy, maladjusted, and freakish ways. But this denies the reality that mental illness is illness. It consists of diseases that can affect anyone. When I say that we need to normalize discourse surrounding mental illness, I mean that we can no longer understand it and speak about it in shameful ways. Sure, someone's mental illness is their own, but by silencing voices, we're perpetuating the idea that people suffering from mental illness are just lunatics or dangers to society, that they're deranged social outcasts that need to be locked away, that they are their disease instead of people that are just suffering from a disease. But we have to be careful how we normalize our discourse, because mental illness is taken lightly in our language when we use words like psycho and crazy to describe things that have nothing to do with mental illness. Don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of this. Sometimes Antonio Brown just scores an insane touchdown. But here's the issue. By normalizing words like depressed when we describe our feelings after the McRib leaves the McDonald's menu, then we're taking away from the seriousness and importance of that word. Now, some people may actually be depressed when that happens, and I don't want to deny that experience, but by haphazardly using the word depressed, we are denying that experience. This dangerous normalization leads to people asking for help only to be met with help like, oh, you're not really depressed, you just had a bad day, or why can't you just be happy? Careless use of serious but not scary words leads us to a dangerous place where those that are suffering from a disease or disorder and actually need help are ignored. This is hard to talk about, but that just means that we have to talk about it. But let me submit to you a shortcoming that I've made in my discussion about mental illness. I've said that we need to get better about how we talk about it when there are real people suffering and surviving with mental illness. There are real, important lives that are every bit as complex as our own, and we need to hear their voices and their stories, because they're not just psychos and weirdos. We're all full, complicated, beautiful people. When we talk about mental illness, although I agree it's important to acknowledge that what it is a real disease, we also have to be conscious of who it afflicts. And that's real people. Thanks for listening. If you want to read more about this, I've included some important resources in the description down below. But let's keep this conversation going. Thanks.